Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing great and staying safe. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. As you can infer from the title of this video, I am officially a permanent resident of Canada. Yay! Yes guys, I am so excited. It's been a really long journey, and anybody that has been an international student or anybody that is an international student will understand where I'm coming from. That feeling of not dealing with uncertainties or anxiety that comes with being an international student, that feeling is over. Like, I'm so glad it's over and it's behind me, and now I can enjoy and live my Canadian dream. Yes. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are asking or wondering how I was able to get my permanent residence. Like I mentioned, I was able to get it within 3 years, but honestly I feel like it's been a 9-year journey, because prior to moving to Canada, I was an international student in America for 6 good years. And unfortunately in America, unlike with Canada, there aren't really any paths to becoming, or paths or programs through which you can become a permanent resident or get your green card in America. So there are 3 main ways that I'm aware of that you can get your green card in America or get your permanent resident status in America. The first one is if your company decides to sponsor you, which is typically rare. Most companies in America, they don't like doing that because it's so expensive. So you mostly find like the top companies being the ones that sponsor green cards for international students or for their employees. So when I talk of top companies, I'm speaking of companies like Facebook, Google, and the like. So most of the time those are like the ones that sponsor green cards for their international student employees. And then another option is if you seek asylum or file for asylum. So I've heard a lot of stories about people that went through this route, and I heard it's not the most pleasant process, because from what I heard, I don't know, I could be wrong, but what a lot of people that have gone through this process have told me, apparently you have to cross many countries on foot before crossing the borders to get into America. And I hear that a lot of people have actually died on the way, because you find yourself crossing like forests, bushes, all kinds of, I don't know, crazy places. So I wouldn't want to go through this process, because I feel like it's something that is, I don't know, man. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, to each his own. Personally, I wouldn't want to go through this route, but people have done it and they have been able to get their papers through that, although it's also no guarantee that you'll get your permanent residence even after you go through this asylum route. And then the other option is, if you're fortunate enough to get married to someone that already has papers, that's already a citizen of the US. If you're fortunate, then that person can file for you and you guys can get married. So those are the 3 main ways through which you can become a permanent resident in America. And obviously for me, it didn't work out that way. I wasn't able to get my permanent residence in the US through either of these routes, which is why I eventually moved to Canada as an international student. So here we are. So there are different programs in Canada through which you can you can get your permanent residence. So there's the provincial nominee, there's the express entry. The express entry, I believe, in my opinion, is the easiest one, is the easiest route, or is the most straightforward route, which is the path that I took to becoming a permanent resident. And for express entry, you have to be willing to live outside of Quebec. So it applies to any province in Canada except Quebec, because Quebec, yeah, they think they're special or whatever. Just kidding. But yes, Quebec has its own special immigration programs or paths to become a permanent resident. So if you plan to go through the express entry route, you should be willing to live outside of Quebec. I don't know if anybody is interested in living in Quebec, but if you would like me to point you to some resources, feel free to drop that in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to provide some resources on how to become a permanent resident of Quebec. So the express entry route is like a point-based system where you're evaluated through different various factors. So there's education, your age, your work experience, your language. So you have to take a test, either whether it's an English test or a French test, whichever you decide to take for your first language. So yeah, based on that test and your score in that test, you're given like a certain number of points. So for each of these factors, you get awarded some points, which in total make up your CRS score. So every 2 weeks, I believe, yeah, almost every 2 weeks, or at least like once or twice each month, Canada usually issues invitations to apply for permanent residence through the express entry route. So to be able to apply for permanent residence, you first need to get an invitation from the government of Canada. Without this invitation, you cannot apply for permanent residence. So to be able to get this invitation to apply for permanent residence, you first need to complete your express entry profile and submit it online, and then based on your CRS score, which is calculated based on the information that you provide in your express entry profile, if your CRS score meets the cutoff score, then you're given the invitation to apply for permanent residence, and it's only then that you can go ahead to apply for permanent residence. I don't know if this is clear enough, but anyways, no worries guys. I'm going to drop some links in the description box below about this whole process, because I know it can sound a little bit confusing. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section below, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions or comments that you have. All right, so in my case, I went ahead and completed my express entry profile, and then fortunately for me, I had met the CRS. Ouch. So fortunately for me, I met the cutoff score during the next round after I submitted my profile, and that is how I got my invitation to apply for permanent residence. Guys, I need to tell you, God has been so good to me. God has been so amazing, because I was honestly scared that I wouldn't be able to get an invitation to apply for permanent residence before my postgraduate work permit expires, because when I submitted my express entry profile, I only had 2 months left in my postgraduate work permit. And this is another risky venture that I took, because like I told you guys in some of my previous videos, I did only a 1-year program in Canada, and in Canada, your postgraduate work permit, the length of your postgraduate work permit depends on the length of your program, like your studies. So if you come here and do like a 1-year program, you only get awarded a 1-year postgraduate work permit. If you come here and do a 2-year program, you get 3 years. If you come and do a 3-year program, you get 3 years. But if you come and do a master's, whether it's a 1-year master's or a 2-year master's, you get 3 years. So me, I took the risky route and did a 1-year postgraduate diploma, which is not a master's, a 1-year diploma program, and that is how I eventually only got a 1-year program, a 1-year postgraduate work permit. Because guys, I was so tired of school. Like, I had been in school in America for like 6 years straight. So I told myself, nah, like I cannot even come here and do more than 1 year in school. I don't see myself doing that. Yeah, ideally, I didn't even want to immigrate to Canada as a student. Ideally, I just wanted to find a job and then continue living my life, blah blah blah, get my status or get my papers figured out. But that didn't work out for me, which is why I eventually had to go back to school when I moved here. So I told myself, if it's more than a 1-year program, I'm not even going to bother myself. So fortunately for me, things worked out for the best, and I was able to get my my invitation to apply for permanent residence 2 months or less than 2 months before my work permit was expiring. And the good thing about Canada is that even when your work permit expires, as long as you submit your application for permanent residence before your work permit expires, and also submit your bridging of work permit application, as long as you submit the application for a bridging of work, that means that I don't even remember what it's called, but yeah, but the work permit that you need that you can apply for after you submit your application for permanent residence, as long as you submit that application to for that work permit or to extend your work permit through that route, then you can continue to work in Canada legally under implied status even after your postgraduate work permit expires. So that is how I was able to continue working in Canada legally while waiting for my permanent residence card to come out. So yeah, things worked out really smoothly for me. I was also concerned that I wouldn't get my ITA on time, because the cutoff score honestly has been going up a lot in the past 2 years. Before, maybe like 3-4 years ago, you could have a score of like 400 or even 300, and sometimes maybe going to the same 400. You could have a score of like 300, a cutoff score of like 300, 320, and still get an invitation to apply for permanent residence so easily. Now, if you don't have at least 470, don't even, okay, I don't want to discourage you guys, but I've noticed that most of like the cutoff scores like in the past 2 years has been 450 and above, and I think it's mostly because the permanent residence or the immigration programs in Canada here are becoming so popular to people in other countries, including people in the US, because like I had mentioned, it's so hard to get papers in many other countries, especially in the US. You'll find people that have worked in America for like 10 years, and they have still not been able to get permanent residence or their green cards, and that's why they eventually move to Canada. So when a lot of people like that with all these great qualifications are coming into Canada, that drives the cutoff score up, because like I mentioned, your score depends on various factors. So if you have people that have a lot of years of work experience, or a high level of education, or great IELTS scores, or direct relatives in Canada, like siblings or parents who are citizens in Canada, they get more points. So because a lot of people have been immigrating to Canada, like this has driven the score up, the cutoff score up in the past 2 or 3 years or so. Before, man, it was so easy. Anybody, almost anybody could get permanent residence so easy. They will get their invitation to apply so easy. But yes, like I'm super excited, man. Like I'm so happy that things worked out so well for me. I was able to get my ITA before my work permit expired. I was able to gather all my stuff. I started gathering my documents before I even got my ITA, before I even qualified for permanent residence. So I submitted my application for permanent residence back in March of last year. And because of COVID, there was some delays in processing my application, because typically it takes about on average 6 months for your application for permanent residence to be processed. But in my case, I didn't get approved until like November. So that was like what? That was like 11 months. No, what am I saying? That was 8 months. Amanda, simple mathematics, you don't know. You are helpless. Anyway, so mine took about 8 months to get processed. And from what I saw online, because I used to like follow like a bunch of forums online with people in the same boat like me, there were so many people that had applied even long before me, but they were still waiting for their permanent residence application to be approved. So me, I was so excited that mine got approved, like, you know, when it got approved, because a lot of people were still waiting. Even to now, like I still go and check the firm like once in a while, and to now there's still people that applied around the same time as me, and they're still waiting for their application to be processed or to be approved. So I got approved in November, but I didn't get my card until 2 days ago. And guess what, guys? Because I was so excited about receiving my PR card, I lost the card. I don't know where my card is. It's somewhere in my room. I just have to check hard, but I'll probably drop like a photo of what my card looks like, because initially I had planned that when I get my mail with my card in it, I'll actually do the video how I'm opening my mail and showing you guys what my card looks like in person. But I actually got my card so much earlier than I had expected, because initially when I had applied for my PR card in November, so when I got my application approved in November, I had to apply for my PR card by sending some photos and some documents. So I submitted those, and based on processing times online, they had said that it was going to take about 4 months to process my application for them to mail me my card. So I wasn't expecting that they'll mail me my card until like March. So when I got a mail 2 days ago, I was like, okay, I didn't think it was it. I was like, okay, what's the government trying to tell me this time around? And then it's when I opened it, I was like, what? It's my PR card. Alright guys, I'm so silly, but I'm so excited, man. Like, I don't know about you guys, but being an international student has been tough. Like, it's such a struggle being an international student, so much that people that have never been in our shoes, they will not know. They will not know what it means, what it entails, like the anxiety, the uncertainty that you have to deal with. So like, I was so happy that I got my card, because I felt like I couldn't really start making plans, like long-term plans, until I at least got my status figured out, because you don't want to start making plans now as an international student, and then God forbid it, like a few years down the line you have to leave the country because you weren't able to get your permanent resident status. So for me, I didn't really want to make any long-term plans until I had gotten my permanent resident status figured out. And I also didn't want to do this video until I got my PR card in hand, because it's only then that I felt like it was going to be official. I mean, when I got my application approved in November, I was already a permanent resident. They said I was already a permanent resident, because before COVID, when you get your application approved, you still have to go and do what they call the landing. So you have to like go to the borders or something, the Canadian borders, and then speak with have an interview with an immigration officer before now, like you eventually go on to get your permanent residence card and become an official permanent resident. But now, because of COVID, as long as you got your permanent residence application approved, they give you a document called the COPR, which I think means the confirmation of permanent residence. You get a document online called the COPR, which is the proof that you are officially a permanent resident in Canada. So now, if you get your application approved, you officially become a permanent resident and you don't need to do the landing anymore due to COVID restrictions. So I have been a permanent resident since November last year, but I didn't get my card until like 2 days ago, which is why I'm doing this video just now. But yeah, that's it about my story. I didn't want to make the video so long, but I feel like it ended up being long, so I apologize for that. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about the process to becoming a permanent resident in Canada, any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below, and I'll be really happy to answer any questions you may have, because I've been there. I know how stressful it can be being an international student, not knowing what your tomorrow is gonna look like, not knowing what your status in the country is gonna look like. So I'll really be happy to help out anybody that's looking to becoming a permanent resident in Canada. I'll be happy to help out the best way that I can. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. Thank you so much again, guys, and stay tuned for my next video. Stay safe, guys. Stay safe. Bye.